Namaskar. Good evening, everyone. So today is our second day of Six Sigma workshop. I feel so privileged that Seturaman Krishnamurthy ji has joined us from Chennai and has willingly and for no cost here to tell us how to do a project in a nice quality conscious manner, in a time bound manner. And there are processes involved. A lot of people know that in the back of your head and they work randomly looking around for their own self-structured processes, but there is a methodical procedure which is used. So in our research lab also we use what is called the quality assurance. So we are a little bit sensitive about it. But Six Sigma apparently is a even higher quality concept. Yesterday in this 4-day workshop, today is the second day, yesterday was the first day, we will have 30 minutes each every day for 4 days. Yesterday, Seturaman Krishnamurthy ji talked about identifying the problem and then having identified how to work around it. And once it is identified and defined, then you move on to the next step, which is today, the analysis part. So everybody stay tuned. Don't miss this lecture. Have all your eyes and ears here. And I will now let Mr. Krishnamurthy, Mr. Seturaman Krishnamurthy to take charge. Just for those who may not have joined yesterday, Seturamanji is a mathematician with more than 200 Six Sigma courses across the world. He loves to teach and mentor students, and he's himself a black belt. And he advises almost on anything that you might ask. There were some sort of deviant questions yesterday, and he just took them in the right. So you are all welcome to also ask technical questions, conceptual questions in relation to your own project, whatever that you have in mind. And Ayush practitioners, please watch out. There is a method, learn this, and this will really benefit you to submit your paper to our journal, which is Integrative Medicine Case Report. We really need good quality data. I asked yesterday if the process is well defined and we want to do one thing within 3 years, what if we do not have a regulatory approval? So he said data. He said data should be there. So pilot data should be. Therefore, Ayush practitioners, yoga practitioners, physicians, whoever are dealing with practice and practice or research should collect that data in a quality conscious way, in a structured way. So let's listen to what Seturamanji has for today. Welcome, Seturamanji. We are all eyes and ears, and I'll close my video and over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. My dear friends, Vanakkam, Namaste, and good evening. As Dr. Akshay was saying, yesterday I was touching, or I was sharing my experience on how to define, first of all, how to identify a problem, how to qualify the problem to be a Six Sigma project, and how to write your goal chart, right? Goal chart. In goal chart, you're going to say what you want to achieve, and you're going to have that sub goals, and you are carefully, you're going to monitor the contradicting factors. People who are not there yesterday, the contradicting factor is nothing but when you're concentrating on your goal, unknowingly you'll be messing up something else which is important. So you should know upfront what are those factors, monitor them, and of course today you have certain boundary conditions and with which you are doing the project, and that boundary condition changes tomorrow. I mean, you have to fine tune your process, fine tune your project accordingly. This is what goal chart all about. Quickly today we get into the analysis portion, data analysis portion, very important. That's the reason I think in Six Sigma also it's kept in the middle, I believe. So DMS over an A. Okay, like yesterday, I'm going to toggle between my PowerPoint presentation and my speech. Fantastic. Now, before getting into the data analysis, the important thing is getting data, right? Getting the right data. Some people will be starting the project. Some people may already have collected the data. Both are fine, but only thing is you should be very clear on your objective and what data should be collected for that. All right. So I just go to my PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, there are two key things. First is, before doing the analysis, the first point is you should collect data, then perform the analysis. How to collect data? There is a very simple format available, which I am having the next slide. This is the format. You should know what is the output you want to achieve. That is the big Y or the small y. Whatever, both big Y, small y, we call that as an output. And unit of measure, how you are going to measure that output. Where are you today and where you want to go, so that the improvement can be measured on a set frequency. Third, now, what data are being collected to measure it for output? What data you should collect and what is the data you are collecting? So you should be very clear on, I'm going here, this is the type of data, this is the data I should collect, right? Data meaning it's an ocean, you have many. So out of which, what data I should collect? So what data being collected, you should be conscious of it. Then who is, now you may say, okay, now I need to collect, some set of data, A set of data, B, so there are 4 or 5 set of data we need to collect. So now either individual can collect or you can assign to people so that the work get done fast. So right people on the right data collection, you have to assign. So we should know who is collecting the data. And the data is very important. It is every frequency, there is a tendency, it may change. The character of a data may change. Today, you may have different data. Tomorrow, the data may change a bit. So in what frequency I need to have a watch on the data. If required, I have to update or I will maintain. So the frequency of data collection have to be set. That is also given. Then there is a data collection form. When you are going to collect the data, right, rather than just going and collecting, right, you should clearly write, okay, this is the data, this is the time. So you should have a data collection form. For every data collection, I'm going to show in the subsequent slide, there is a data collection form. It's very simple. It is very, very simple, much simpler than filling over, any other forms. So there is a data collection form available. Then method of analysis. Just hold on to it, because in the coming slides, I'll be talking about 2 different method of analysis. So you can choose which one you are going to put it here. So come back here, put it here. Then analysis tool, of course, when I'm going to talk about the method of analysis, I'm going to talk to you about the, I'm going to talk about the, what kind of tools for what method I'm going to do. Then the review details, very importantly. Now you collect the data, you are deciding this objective, I'm collecting. If you are team working, then there should be a team review every week or whatever set frequency. Or there should be subject matter expert to be called in. So they should review, oh, okay, this is the data you are collecting. This is how you are doing analysis. This is your finding. So those kind of a finding time to time on a set intervals have to be reviewed by an external person. When I say external person, meaning a subject matter expert or someone else other than you, so that you and your team, so that they see a different angle, they'll throw some light. So this is all about the data collection. Imagine that based on this, you have collected data, right? Now, the moment you collect data, second I said is you are going to perform the analysis. This analysis has 3 portions. What are they? These are the, let me move this a bit. Okay. So what are the 3 things? Number 1 is a root cause analysis. First, you are going to do root cause analysis. So you are going to get multiple causes in front of you. You are trying to solve a problem and you collected the data. You are doing a root cause analysis. You have set of, say for example, you have some 10 causes. You are identifying these are the different 10 causes. The causes can be identified while collecting the data. The causes will be identified based on your experience, based on others' experience. You can have a brainstorming among the team, and you can bring from the past projects. So with the various there are some 4 to 5 methodologies are there through which you will be getting into the various root causes. That's a root cause analysis. I'm going to there are some tools available. I'm going to teach you now. Through the tools, you are going to identify the root cause analysis you have to do. Now, the moment, what do you mean a root cause analysis, right? Whenever you do analysis, sometimes you will see a problem superficially. When you started doing, no, why this is happening? You should ask 5 whys, right? 5 why, that's what we call 5 why concept. First, why this is happening? Okay, today I came to office late, right? Why I came to office? I come to work, come to college, come to wherever your place. I came late. Why? Because when I'm coming, there is a procession going on. So I got stuck. Oh, okay. Why procession going on? There is some reason procession going on. Oh, okay. Why can't you take a different route? Okay, different route. That would have taken more time because I have to come roundabout. I mean, why would I started early? Okay, I don't know that there is a procession. There is coming in the paper. So that now, if you ask why, keep asking certain why. After certain why, it is 5y is just a number, it's a concept. You need not ask all the time 5y. Maybe on the third y, you reach the root, right? The point here is do not stop with the superficial reason. Get into the bottom, the under no, one by one, no, just reveal it and go inside, so that at third y or fourth y, sometime fifth y, for sure you will hit the root cause most of the time. For that also we have tools how to do that. So if you apply the data and ask 5 whys, you're going to get the root cause. Now in front of you, you have multiple root causes. The second thing is, if I have 5 causes in front of me, right, or 10 causes, which one I should work now? Which one I'm supposed to work? So prioritize the root cause. Understand the cause, then how to prioritize. There are tools and teach. One that is prioritize. Okay, out of the 10, these are the 3 causes I'm going to focus, I'm going to work upon. Okay, now before you start working on those 3 causes, do a validation. That's called cause validation. Is it really, you are, with one tool is telling this is the cause, use the validation tools that is going to tell you, yes, this is the cause, we need to prioritize. Once you've done this exercise, then we can start doing the particular 3 causes alone. You can take, dwell more into it, get into solution, and go. So this is a 3: root cause, prioritize the cause, and do the validation. Now, imagine I'm going to start the analysis. The analysis has 2 different, I said in the data collection form, I said there are methods. These are the 2 methods. One method is called data analysis. The second method is called process analysis. Right? Now, if you are working on an effectiveness, your measure, your objective is to improve an effectiveness, then your route is data analysis. If you are working on efficiency, right, you want to improve efficiency of, then the route is process analysis. Hey, hold on. What is effectiveness? What is efficiency? Okay. What is effectiveness? What is efficiency? Effectiveness. Now, from here, I need to go to a place which is about 30 kilometers from here, right? So I should be there, by say within 2 hours time. So what I've done, cool. 2 hours. What's the time now? It's only 8 o'clock, right? Perfect. And now I have 2 hours, 30 kilometers. I can easily reach. No issues at all. So what I'm taking, I am, going there. I'm waiting. I have time. I'm waiting. And so then I'm taking an auto and I'm sitting on that and straight away going. And 8 o'clock, I'm there. So Setu is effective. 8 o'clock, we're supposed to be there somewhere, and he is there. Effective. Is it efficient? May not be. For 30 kilometers, he gave 500 rupees to auto. It's not efficient. So if I start a little early, caught a bus or a train, right, public bus or a train, reach there, the same place, I could have reached in 10 rupees or say 30 rupees. So Setu still reach the place at 8 o'clock, effective, and he is efficiency because efficient because he has not spent 500, only 30 rupees. Bike, another example, like my bike. How many? I'm putting the there are different bikes, two-wheelers we have. We are putting 1 liter petrol in everything, and we travel. Certain two-wheelers gives you 60 kilometers, 50 kilometers. Certain give you only 30 kilometers. So same distance, I'm putting so we say, what is efficient bike efficiency? So whenever you achieve the effectiveness with a less cost, the quicker time, then you are efficient. Okay. So now, having said this, I'll go back to my presentation. Okay. So now, if you're working on an effectiveness, say for example, you are trying to improve a quality. Today, I have a process that process producing me, say, a 2 sigma quality or 3 sigma quality. It is at somewhere at 93%. I want to improve the quality from 93% to 99%. So I'm working on a effectiveness of my project is working on to improve the effectiveness. I take the data analysis. If my process is working on time or cost, I'm going to take a process analysis. Right? This one. So effectiveness is data analysis. Efficiency is process analysis. Effectiveness is, see, any project you take, by and large, that will fall into three parameters: Q, C, D. You take any projects, that will follow Q, C, D. Q for quality, C for cost, and D for time. That is delivery. Q, C, D. Okay. So now, whenever you work on Q, it will take a data analysis. Whenever you work on D, you work on the process analysis. Whenever you work on C, the cost factor, you need to decide this route or that route. Depends on project, that may be, right? Having said that, now I'm going to the next slide. Okay. The first thing is, I actually do three things. I'm taking the data analysis route. So the first thing is root cause analysis. So I have, okay. The first step is root cause analysis. To do root cause analysis in the data analysis route, right? We have multiple tools. There are a lot of tools available. To start with, if you're only just now you're starting, to start, you want to understand certain things. These are the simple but very effective 7 tools. We call them 7 QC tools, right? I've given the names there: check sheet, Pareto chart, cause and effect diagram, control charts, histogram, graphs, and scatter diagram. These are the 7 which are very effective, simple, easy to understand. That is sufficient for you to use it appropriately so that you'll be able to achieve your root cause. If you're going to take the process analysis route, there are different things. I'll come to that little later. So I'm going to now dwell on the data analysis portion. So these are the 7. Okay. First is root cause analysis, the 7. So these are the 7 QC tools, right? Different tools. Next sheet, I have these are the 7 tools and when to use them, right? Control charts. Control charts, I'm going to give some example. I'm going to show you some example. Control charts to decide. So you're going to monitor. Control charts are used to monitor your process performance, right? So in every data, your different data, you're going to use different control charts are different types. So for a different type of data, different type of control charts you're going to use. So that in simpler terms, like in ECG, when you're taking ECG, you can see a monitor. It will go like this, right? Whether ECG. Similarly, control charts are easy, show the ECG of your processes, right? So you're going to put a chart and that's going to tell you that it's going to give you the waves like this. I'm going to show you some example. And what is your process performance? Hard performance, ECG shows. Process performance, your control controls. That will tell you, that control will tell you when to take action, when not to take action. Just keep this in your mind. I will touch this again. Check sheet. Check sheets are the simple sheets to collect data in a systematic and organized manner. You know what? This program, this data analysis program, actually I require about minimum of 2 months to complete the whole thing, right? But you know, in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to give you a crux of that. So I may be little, maybe fast. I'm sorry about that. Another way, I only know giving the tools and their names, but in detail. These are available. I can share. Then you can contact me. Anyone here, you can contact me. I'll be able to share them, and I can even explain you one by one if you really require. Or there are. I'm going to give you some software that is self-explanatory. You'll be able to easily understand this. How to use them, when to use them, how to infer the results. Right. So check sheet to collect data in a systematic and organized manner. There's something called cause and effect diagram. Is also called fishbone diagram because the diagram, you're going to have the problem as a head, you're going to have the causes listed down. It's going to tell you which is your primary cause, a secondary cause. Looks like fish and it is bone, and it pins will be shown like that. So it's like a fishbone diagram. Pareto chart, very important. This will tell you, I told you how to do the prioritization of causes. This will help you to identify the vital few from the trivial many. These are the kind of few certain nomenclatures we use in the quality science. What is vital few? I have 10, 10 causes, out of which 2 are very key. If Pareto just tells you, if you attack the 20% of the key vital few on the top, it will be 20%. If you attack that, 80% of your problem will get solved. That is the principle that is proven. So you have to understand what is that, that 20% vital few. You have to find. This Pareto chart will help you to identify the vital few causes from the trivial many. You have some 10, 15 causes, out of which is 2 how to identify. The 20% cause out of from the 100, how to identify that 100 is trivial many. Vital few is 20%. How to identify this Pareto chart will help you. So that 20%, if you attack, your problem will get solved for 80%. Right? That is statistically proved. Then the histogram, there are multiple histograms, and this will explain you or it will help you what kind of distribution, data distribution. Right? While collecting the data, there are a lot of sample data, the homogeneous data, heterogeneous data, various data will be collecting. So what kind of distribution, data and how it is distributed, histogram will. And graphs, there is something called a bar chart, there is something called line chart, there's something called pie chart. So these are the graphs. Line chart will, there are different graphs to communicate. When you put the chart, to communicate whatever information you, in a crisp and clear manner to others, impact to you, this graphs will help. And last is the scatter diagram, is also called the correlation diagram, which will tell you the relationship between two. So now what you're saying is, if I take yoga, if I do yoga every day, my diabetes will come down. So there are 2 factors you're talking about. If I take this will come down. Is it real? Is it true? So now when you collect the data, so how many people have taken and how long they have taken? So many people are, so if you take yoga, if you do yoga for certain set of days, right? 100 people I have taken, they have done so 2 months, 3 months, anywhere between 2 months, 3 months they have done. Now I'm going to check their diabetes level. I'm going to plot on this. So that's going to tell you whether these two have a positive correlation, meaning positive correlation, yes, if you do yoga, that diabetes will come down. The positive correlation, or which will have a negative correlation, right? No, these two are 2 different ways. There is no, this is negative correlation is there, meaning, it's the other way around. If you do yoga, diabetes will go high. There's a negative correlation. And third is, there is no correlation. Yeah, there is no relationship between these two at all. So this scatter diagram will tell you this. So if you are really need to put that, yes, yoga is going to collect data based on this, put in scatter diagram, you will get a positive correlation, you can prove the word yoga and solve the, right? So these are the 7 QC tools which is used for the data analysis. I showed you when to use. Now, what I thought of doing is, out of which one tool I will take and explain you a little more, right? So I will take control charts. Before getting to control charts, you are collecting data. So now, yeah, see, this is interesting for the people who are, started using it. For the people who are initially joining, you have to carefully listen to this so that, it will become interesting for viewers. When I collect data are different types, right? Now, I'm not going to touch all the data types. For the easy thing, you understand 2, 3 data types. Some data is called count data, meaning if you are able to count the data, how many number of trees are there? It's called, there are 100 trees are there. It is count data. And how many boys are there? How many girls? How many men, women? If you can count and tell, it's called count data. Continuous data, which means any data which can take any value in a scale. What is your temperature today? It's 99.4, 98.6, 98. It can be 98.621 also. So any number it will take in a scale, a data can be discontinuous. What's the difference between continuous and count now? How many trees are there? There are 7.5 trees. You cannot, 7.5 trees are there. You cannot tell, isn't it? Okay, 7 or 8 or 3, you don't tell. So the data which can take a value any point in a scale is called continuous. It's a full number. It's only you can count full number. It's called SR. It's called a count data. There are 2. Then there are other data are there. You can SR no data. and you have ordered data, unordered data. So there are 5, 6 kinds of. Now, when you choose control charts, you have to understand if I'm using based on 2 parameters, what kind of sampling you are doing and what kind of data you are using, right? Sometimes you do 100% sampling, sometimes you variable sampling. Sometimes what happens, I'm going to test only 10, you have a fixed number of, fixed percentage of sampling you do. Sometimes today I'm going to 10%, tomorrow I will do 15%. So is your sampling size every day is standard or varying? Question number 1. Question number 2, are you using continuous data or count data or order data? What's the data type you're using? Based on these 2, you're going to choose what kind of control chart. Now here, and this is fine for now. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to tell you the use of control chart. Like the ECG of heart. This is I have measured a process that's telling you these are the points I'm having. So now I am more interested to tell you what to infer from the control chart, easily understandable, very useful also. Okay. Now I have this is a C chart. This is a C chart because my data type is count data and my this is constant sampling size. Then I use the C chart. Why? I mean, as I told you, there is a permutation combination. If this and this, use this chart. Now I am using, you can see here, I'm showing the C chart. Okay, now you understand that you have learned the data type, you know how to do the control chart. Now you got the control chart done. These are the data points, right? These are the data points. Now to do a control chart, to get a right amount of, correctly, appropriately to infer a control chart, you should have minimum of 21 data points, right? 21. You should have, this is called 1, 2, 3, meaning am I coming late to my workplace? Am I coming too early to my workplace? What is my office starts at 9 o'clock, right? My college starts at 10 o'clock or 8:40 in the morning. Okay, and on a 21 days, if you want to see am I coming in on time or late or early, you take 21 data points should be there, right? So now you collected 21 points, you apply. There are tools like, there are software like Minitab, SPC, and more software are there. You are going to apply this data in those software. All you have to do is, I have the count data, this is a random sampling. Which chart I'm supposed to use? He will tell you, take C chart. Okay, C chart, this is my data points. He is going to take the data points, give you this chart. In the chart, what it means? This is your average line, right? The center is your average line. And this is called upper control limit. This is called lower control limit. Meaning, I'm coming to office. I'm supposed to come at 9 o'clock. You're going to know all the 21 points I've taken. I've calculated my average time for everything. I'm coming to, I'm supposed to come at 9 o'clock. I am coming somewhere, 9:05, 9:10, sometime 8:50, sometime, and the center point, I'm kind of hovering around the center point. This is what it is. Certain days, what happened? You would have come 8 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the, so completely varying. If your college or office hours or entry time, say at 9 o'clock, and you will be varying at 9:10, 9:05, 5 minutes here and there if you're varying, right? That is fine. Sometimes what happens, you go really out of the control limits, upper and lower control limits. What does it mean? If you are hovering around the central line, which means this is called a chance cause. It is not possible, definitely not possible for anyone to sharp come at 9 o'clock every day. There is no possibility, right? People come at 8:58, 9:02, 9:01, 9:03, 9:05. Even the punctual, so-called punctual people will also come only there. 9 o'clock. I mean, sometimes they'll come on dot 9, but it is not possible on a scale of 21 days coming in. Definitely there will be a small variation for everybody. Any process will have a small variation. That small variation induced by chance, we call chance causes. Whereas the points which are going above the control limits or below the control limits are coming because of assignable process. Meaning, when you come one day at 11 o'clock, which means you would have got permission. I have to attend a marriage. I'm coming at time. I'm going to come 2 hours late. So there will be a reason for those points. You will assign a reason to those particular. You will easily, by seeing the chart, oh, I know this day because of that I came early. Oh, this day because of that I came late. So you'll be able to assign a cause to the outlier points, whereas so these outlier points called assignable causes, then the other the points which are hovering around the average called chance causes. Assignable causes you can easily find, you'll be able to remove. The chance cause is what you have to do more analysis. So control chart is used to understand the assignable cause and the chance cause and know what is the variation of your processes. Once this is done, now I'm getting into now think that using the 7 QC tools, right? I have about now for 20 to 25 or say 10 to 12 processes in front of me available. I'm using the 7 QC tools. I put my data. I know what data I collect. I got some processes. Out of which these are the 3-4 tools again. The first tool, subjective rating and ranking, to facilitate team members and subject matter experts to provide their opinion in the form of rank. Now you're going to have all the causes. You're going to have the team, subject matter expert. You're going to explain each and every causes. Everyone is going to put a rate and rank for that. This tool, we are going to put everything on the tool. That's going to tell you, okay, based on these information, these are your vital few causes. Then this is called causal effect matrix. This matrix will tell you, while you have so many causes, what are the few causes having more, creates more impact on your problem. So this matrix will tell you those kind of causes. There's something called failure mode effect analysis. I have a process. When somebody doing a process analysis, I have a process, but various processes. Each process, what are the failure can happen in each process. There is something called risk priority number, RPN. So this particular tool will help you to derive that RPN for this kind of processes, so that wherever the RPN is high, you'll be able to work on those processes. And finally, Pareto chart, I told you, this Pareto chart will help you to identify the 20% of vital few costs from the determinant. So these 4 tools will help you to identify the top key causes from your list of these causes. I'm going to the third portion of cost validation. Now, I have the data prioritized cost with me. Now, before going to work further work and find before getting into solution portion, I need to find solution for these 3. I told you the vital few causes will give you 80% of your solve your 80% of problem. So yes, but before getting into solution mode, okay, this is the cause. I'm going to work on solution. You have to do a testing. You have to do a validation. Is it really mine is going to improve? How to do the validation? There are again multiple tools. These are the 2 tools by and large all the people use. Hypothesis or correlation, right? Now, what is hypothesis? In hypothesis, like control chart, here also there's something called sample t-test, sample one sample t-test, 2 sample t-set, parent test, 1 sample z-test, multiple are there. Now, do not get confused. This is not rocket science at all. Now, all you need to do is, there is a software, you need a facilitator. By seeing the data, by seeing this thing, and by seeing so what is it you are trying to do? First point is, am I testing whether average of a group, right? A group average reflects the group performance. In a group, there are so many things are there. I'm going to pick some 10 out of the 10 people out of that. I'm going to see their average. That average performance, is it reflecting the group performance? If you want to check this and test equality between team A and team B and compare the output of quality between 2 products. I am doing 2 scanners. Which scanner producing a good quality of scanned out, or test variation between 2 teams. The variation the performance of the variation between 2 teams. So there are multiple things. The moment you identify the root cause, that will you will be able to identify this. Accordingly, you can use the hypothesis. To make it more clear, hypothesis, I have taken one example. Right? Imagine you are interested in to find the age of a set of employees. There are 5,000 people available, right? And people are saying, average age is about 30 years. Right? The average age of this group is 30 years. Now, you need to, average is 30. Is it the whole group? All the people in the group will be 30 years, or 30, can I raise 30, 32, 33, hovering around 30. Is it true? If you want to check that, you need not check the age of the 5,000 people. Statistically, you can use the hypothesis tool to take 10 people age, use this hypothesis methodology so that you'll be able to find whether that is true or not. Now, data. So the age of 10 people in the group is, I have taken this is the age. One is 42, 35, 24, 31. This is the age of the. Now what I'm doing is, I'm creating, based on the above sample, we can calculate average age is 30. For these people, 10 people, average of these 10 people is 30. Right? Simply add divided by 10, you get 30. Now, if the average of these 10 people is 30, then the group of 5,000 people available, if it is a kind of homogeneous data, 5,000 people are available. This is going to be the age of people is going to hover around 30 across. I want to check that. How I'm going to do? I'm going to use hypothesis. This is the data I have. I'm going to set the hypothesis. In hypothesis, you are going to set two hypotheses. One is called H naught. One is called HA. H naught is called null hypothesis. HA is alternative hypothesis. What is H naught? You're going to tell the what is here. Say you are saying the average age of employees equal to 30 years. That is what we are checking now. So you are saying my null hypothesis is average employees here is 30. Now the alternative is the opposite. The average employees is not 30. So you are going to set these two hypotheses and take the data, open Minitab, SPC, any statistical tool, and you're going to add you're going to choose the hypothesis, take that relevant test here, one sample T test you take and apply these 10 data points there, and you say result, you get this, right? One sample T test, average of employees, you get all the figures. For now, do not worry about all. In the whole chart, what you need is this. I rounded here the p-value. If the p-value, right? How to infer now? What to infer now? Look at the p-value. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, then accept the null hypothesis. If the p-value is less than 0.05, then reject the null hypothesis. Meaning, in this case, what happened? The p-value is 0.059. This is above the greater than the 0.05. So accept the null hypothesis. Meaning that is the average age in the group is statistically proven that is equal to or hovering around 30 years. Now this is the tool. I told you there are two tools for cost validation. You have hypothesis. Similarly, another tool called correlation. Correlation, I explained you the yoga and diabetes just to explain you. So collect data. I mean, if you identify, if you prioritize the data, use this tool. That will validate and tell you, yeah, this is really a data you should go for. This is really a point you should go for this. Right? Then once you validate that and you are finalized, then perfect. Now I know what data to collect. I know if it is what route I should go. This is data analysis or process analysis. If it is data analysis, I have some 7 QC tools. I know how to use them and use it, and different usages I have shown, and identify the root cause. Then use the funneling tools. In other words, it's called prioritization of root causes. I told you there are 4 tools are there. Use them. Identify the 20% vital few. Then those 20% you have to do a cost validation. Then your job is done. You know the cost is in your hand. Now for this cost, I'm going to give the solution. This is how the data analysis route goes. Then we get to the solution. Whereas if you get into a process analysis route, very quickly, right? This is the last but before slide. Very quickly, there are 4 points you have to remember in process analysis: KPOV and KPI. KPOV is nothing but key process output variable. KPI is key process input variable. When you have a process, you have input, set of activities, output. Now the output, I want certain results. Output and certain characters. We will go back to my copy example. Copy, I have taste, aroma, and hot. So certain parameters. That's called KPOV. Key output variable. What can vary in the output called output variable. And come back to input. Input also in the same coffee example. You have sugar, you have milk, you have coffee powder. So what can vary? Coffee powder can be more bitter, less sweet. The sweet may be more sweet. Sugar can be more sweet, less sweet. milk can be more fat or more watery. So what can vary in that input is called key input variable. So when you do a process analysis, you should know what process analysis, what is the output, what is the key process output variables, and in these two you should know, so that whenever there goes something wrong in the output variable, you can work on the input variable. Remember one thing, you will not be able to work on the output variable. Output variable is only to monitor. You can see that. Say for example, you put a thermometer, you check, hey, I'm running 99.9, say 100. This is your body temperature is output you are seeing here. But by seeing that number, you can't do anything. You have to do a root cause, which flu, what virus there inside. You have to work on that. Input you have to work so that your output comes down or goes high. So output is only to monitor. Another simple example, I have fan, right? Now I get air. Very good. Output I'm enjoying. If I put what is the output of a fan? Fan is the output product. What is that? I should get a good air, right? I don't want any noise. So this is the fan's character, right? I expect from the fan, output of the fan. So now output is now, this is not enough. The air is not enough. What you're supposed to do? You cannot go and do anything with the air, isn't it? You go and work on the switch. You have something called the regulator. 3, 4, 5. You keep, you work on that is input for this output. So you work on the input so that, the output will, get regulated. So output is monitored and to be regulated through the input variables. The input variables there are certain process things are there. What process things are there? Let's talk about the forgiving principle. The next point. I have multiple processes. Okay. And should I work, when I have process, the process will have multiple steps. Now, what I am supposed to do, I have a problem. First of all, this problem would have come in the beginning or mid. So, you have to use your experience in this thing and understand. I guess this should have come from this particular step. So, go and operate that. Mostly that may be or before you will be able to identify out of the so many steps in the process, which step is the culprit. You will be able to catch it. Meaning, why forgiving principle? What we are saying is, though the whole process output you are making, you are not getting, but not the whole process is making mistake. Only there are only two. So, forgive the rest of the processes. That's called, forgive. Value add, non-value add. When you have a process, there are set of, say a set of activities you're doing. Certain activities will really add value. If you don't do that, you will not be able to get. Certain processes will only, the process steps will be there that will not make any differences. How to identify these two? You look at the process, particular process, your output, is coming. Milk is coming, decoction is coming, your sugar is coming. I like that example, so keep telling that. So when you come there, the inputs are coming inside. So what happens is, when each and every step, okay, the output is getting transformed. Your question is it output is getting transformed towards my final output? The answer is yes, that's a valued process. No, my output not making any thing. It is a non-valued process. By over the period of time, but with the lack of knowledge, you would have added more process steps, which would not make any sense. We will only waste time there, money there. Identify them, remove them. Those are called facts. Right? And then next is called the remove them so that your process will become more healthier. Effort versus elapsed time. There is a difference. You have to understand the effort and elapsed. Like to do a job, say for example, from here to I'm going to temple, right? I'm going to temple in Munirka. Say for example, from my house, I'm somewhere outside Delhi. It takes me, I went there. It took me about 2 hours. So the elapsed time is 2 hours. But if you understand what I have done in the 2 hours. I came to the bus stand or I came to the auto stand or a auto stand. I came here, right? I came on 0 time. I'm there. From my house is 0 time. To come to that place, I spent 10 minutes. I waited there for 30 minutes to get my bus. I got my bus, went into the bus. Bus travel is about 40 minutes. I got down. From there, I saw my friend. So I was talking to him. So I was spending about 20-30 minutes with him. Then I said, bye-bye, I'm going to the temple. The overall time, it took about 2 hours. But what is effort time? Effort time is from the house, I reached the place bus stand. So you think the ideal scenario. I'm starting my house, I reach the bus stand. The moment I reach the bus stand, bus is already there. I'm getting to the bus. Immediately, bus is not getting stuck in any traffic. Straight away, it drops me at the temple. I'm getting to the temple, no friend, nothing, I'm getting to the temple. Meaning, cut all the extra time from that only, so it will be only 1 hour. If you go this way, it will be only 1 hour. But actually, I've taken 2 hours. So here, the elapsed time is 2 hours. The effort time is for a 10-kilometer temple from my house, it should take not more than 1 hour. That is the effort time. What is the time required to do a job to achieve get the output is effort time. But actually, how much I have taken is elapsed time. If the effort time, elapsed time differs a lot, then you have to know it cautioned. Oh man, why this is happening? So where I'm wasting time. So you have to I know I'm terribly rushing, but I'm only touching these points. This presentation is available. I can share with all of you. And this is only a glimpse of a data analysis and a process analysis. What are the different tools? What are the phases? I just given you, and that's it. So I need to give the mic back to Mr. Dr. Akshay.
Thank you. Very good time. I know you overshot your time, but I think we were all enjoying. I don't think I'll be able to ask questions because there are many who are here in the panel as well as in the Facebook already willing to ask questions. But starting from compliments for you, I'm just going to read them out for you before I go to the questions. A magical formula on problem solving issues in the easiest way. Congratulations for that. He's a great trainer. I learn something every single time I listen to him. So that's one of your followers. Another person says an insight to systematic approach. Yes, that was a systematic approach. You defined the problem yesterday and today you went into the analysis. You also touched on the statistics. And let's get down to these apparently hard questions for me. For you, maybe it is easy. How to project the need of quality assurance movement in healthcare system and its priority in mortality rate in general. The hospitals have some people come, some die. Can there be a system in a hospital in an emergency where this quality assurance system could be provided? So first of all, is it a priority? And if so, how can we implement that? Way to audit that. Mortality is death rate, basically.
Yeah. I want to understand the question a little more.
Part B of the same question is, how should one set up the principles of quality assurance in public health sectors, hospitals, and then apply its tools, benefits, models in the healthcare units? So looking at doing tests, and another part is research also, but I'll come to that later. Yeah, please.
The second part I got it. The first point, can you throw me a little more light? The modality you're saying. What is the exact question?
Yeah, you can. Okay. So the first part is how to project the need of quality assurance movement in the how to make how to advocate for it. So once we realize that quality assurance is really important, how to project it. So one way is we are doing this educational series and people are valuing the importance of quality assurance as you are talking about Six Sigma. So this is probably one answer, that this is the way to project. The other could be to talk to the policymakers, the health ministry, of the value of quality assurance, of the value of documentation, Six Sigma approach. I think she's asking how to project the need of quality assurance movement in healthcare system and its priority in the mortality ratio in general. How can we tell the public? Yeah.
Generally, when you want to emphasize on this, right? Whatever I understood, my answer goes this way. If I don't do this, what happens? Right? I'm not going to improve any quality. No, don't worry. There is no quality assurance system. Nothing. You do whatever you want. What happens? You have so many problems, right? So now I'm coming with a system that's going to kill all you. This way, you'll be easily able to convince people saying that you have a problem, my system. So generally, we say I'm going to come with a system that's going to take care of your problem. Rather than that, understand what is the problems are happening today. So how to attack the problem through your system. So people really value understand and value the system again.
And an easy way could be, as you, from whatever I could understand, because I was also managing trying to tell people that you come and attend. So I missed, but you talked of root quality cause. Root quality, what was that?
Root cause quality.
Root cause.
Identify the root of the cause.
Yeah, in which you basically said that you draw a graph. You gave an example of people coming to their workplace and taking coming at 8 o'clock, 8:30. So a good way in a hospital mortality could be you count the number of deaths in one hospital versus the other over 1 month, over a year. And if you want to compare the same for Ayush hospital, for example, then you can count the number of deaths over there in that Ayush hospital versus a regular hospital. So you can infer that these are the trends in this hospital, these are the trends for mortality in this hospital. So if you have a system such as the one you proposed, we will be able to do this analysis. Otherwise, it will be haywire mess, and nobody would care about the figures, the numbers, whether how much is in Ayush, how much are dying in the regular hospital, how many are dying of COVID, how many are dying of traumas, just bus accidents. So unless a system of importing the data of deaths are there, as you proposed, is this?
I want to add here. You got the point, but in our data, make it data driven. Now I have so many deaths. Of course, it will say so many deaths are there. Number the biggest deaths. The why the deaths could be because of pneumonia, could be because of COVID, could be because various reasons. Deaths are happening because of various reasons. The next, first why is why deaths reasons. Second thing, why that is happening, right? Then why that is. If you drill down, you really understand certain causes. Because of these causes, my death rate is very high. So out of these causes, what is really a priority? What are the 2-3 causes if I attack? I can reduce my death rate straight away. That's what I said. There is a tool called a Pareto chart. If you put the right data into it, it will tell you what is the 20%, the vital few causes you attack them. So your 80% death rate will come down. Once you understand this, we can put system, then you can always project to people. If you have this systems, and this will take care of these root causes so that your end output will be taken.
And same could be for a new Ayush drug, for example, Ashwagandha or Brahmi to cure a disease. And then unless you do this kind of analysis, you will not
do
know.
A correlation. Do a correlation straight away. I have Ashwagandha. For why I'm giving this Ashwagandha? To cure this, right? I give it to so many people, and those people already had the problem at this percentage, and may I know why Ashwagandha is given? I'm not very familiar with that.
Well, some people say for reducing the inflammation, others say for vitality. So in these days, they're talking of anti-inflammatory effects. So they're doing
it is anti-inflammatory. What I'm saying is now, before taking this medicine, so what was their effect? I'm taking some, people of 100 people or 200 people whom are given. So are there before and after effect I can check, and I can put in the correlation graph. Whomever taken Ashwagandha for so many set period of time, their inflammation has come down. Right? I can put that, and if it is a positive correlation, I can always tell it is proven. The data is proven. So I have the data; it's proven, and the important is to convince. I'm sorry. Very important point. The very important point is 100 people, 50 people. That is something different. But the genuinity and the quality of data is very, very important. Say, for example, you're telling I've given to 100 people, right? And their inflammatory this thing was so high. After Ashwagandha has come down, you were saying that. Now I want to validate that. You say this is the 50 people, their phone number, this is the medical report on this day. So you're given a complete, and people, then you no question asked. You proved everything with data, job done. So you have very clear, very, this thing on the validation of your data.
And the same thing can be applied for a PhD program one is pursuing, has to be done in 3 years. Why? What is the root cause? What is your, you said, trend of coming to workplace? The timing is good. What is your sample collection? Are you only collecting a sample for your PhD only in Tuesday, or only on January and February? The next round comes in September. Why that gap? That kind of analysis. You said root cause.
You take the process analysis. If you're talking about time, so time you do a process. Meaning in the 3 years, what are the process steps I'm doing? So you can identify where you are losing time, which is valued process, which is not valued. You will be able to identify.
So for an employee-employer relationship in an industry, business, shop, or a hospital, an employer will do this analysis or monitoring and ask, oh, you're not coming in time, you're not doing this. But for you, you said that you have to do it yourself when you took the example of the attendance trend. So for the person who has to do his or her PhD in 3 years, then that person has to do did you mean that person himself or herself has to do that analysis of trends of?
That person or, a team of people, they can do. See,
Yeah.
employer is asking is different, purpose is different, right? There are 10 employees I have, so many people are there, either who is coming on time, who is not coming on time, the purpose of employer monitoring is different. Whereas as a student, I have a target, I am working on certain things. Is that my coming to a college or my coming to the place, research center, is that making any difference? If you want to identify that individual has to monitor.
Okay, great. So let's take some fast questions and fast answers in the interest of time. So the
Okay.
question that the Rita Isaac asked you was that how should we, set up the quality assurance into the public health? Do you have a recipe? Just one line answers to these questions. If you don't, we can skip.
Now, there are 2 points I can give to. One is understand what is the main process, the core process. To do a healthcare set, what is the main process I need to do? What is the end output I want? Understand the core process, put systems for the core process.
Okay, great. Second question is, let me just read it, scroll through. From Sundar Rajan, project objective, assure data privacy of patients in a hospital. Which tool should I select for assuring the privacy of the patient data? Is there a tool?
There is no tool to under privacy because tools are used to do only to analysis, right? Privacy and confidential is something different. How you are going to secure the data? That's completely different from the, if that is what the question, how to secure.
Maybe we just anonymize data and put it somewhere without the name, like we anonymize data. So we respect the to analyze. We cannot be keeping the patient name, knowing that, putting it in the public domain and yet do the analysis because there are ethical issues. So I think what you need.
You can always give a different number to the name or nick number to the name and you can.
Yeah. What are the next question? What are the pitfalls while doing root cause analysis?
Okay, that's a good question. First thing is when you ask the first why, right? Why I am coming late? I give some answer. Second, you may not be able to go to the second why. No, that's all. This is the reason. First pitfall is your mindset. But this is the reason.
Absolutely.
There's something else. No. This is the reason. We call people as ostrich. What they say is put their head under the sand and then the world is dark. Which means, the first why, this is the reason. Diabetes, yoga cannot cure diabetes. No, this is I agree with you. No. So people do not willing to get into the second, third way. That's a first pitfall. Second thing, when you go to the next causes, unintentionally, right, you will get deviated to a different cause. You have to be very clear on, I am working on why I'm coming late. So ask questions only towards that. Why I'm coming late? No, last night I had not slept. Okay, I went to a movie. There is a tendency to get into a different route altogether. So you never read there. So these are the 2, 3, pitfalls when you do a root cause. Now you have to be careful.
Got it. So can someone use more than one QC tool when using control chart?
Control chart itself is a QC tool.
So is there any other one, any other QC tool, quality tool, other than
what? For what? What purpose? Because there are tools are used for different usages. What do they use? Control chart. They use the process control. I said process monitoring the process health. Control chart is used, right? So the purpose of control chart where I am varying. So what else? When instead of control chart for different data, different control charts should be used.
Yeah, can understand. Let's see if we counter questions. So here in the panel, anybody wants to ask? There are some fellows here, some from the Yoga Scholars Group, other people. If you want to ask anything, and while they listen, while they talk, while they think about asking, I had another question coming to my mind when you were Sethuraman ji, and you were mentioning, you said processes are there, you identify them, and you work on them. What if the processes change? Now the processes have changed completely. We have moved to the online. So the employer-employee interaction is online. Maybe the data generation of yoga intervention or anything is happening online. And obviously there are challenges. You and I are talking online and we are conscious. If we do one mistake, 200 people are watching. So there is anxiety involved. And is that process not changed? How to deal with that new process which is online process? I mean, this is a question out of maybe not related to Six Sigma, but your thoughts since you are an
See whether this is answer your question. Now, I have one process I am adopting. Why I am doing the process? to achieve certain outputs, correct? This is offline. Now what happened, all of a sudden, one night I changed it to online, but still I am trying to achieve the same output, right, online. But whether I am able to achieve or not, right? So for the matter employee-employee relationship and how to monitor them, how to control the employees, there are various things are there.
Or to be able to contribute in their career advancement.
Career advancement, interaction, say for example, interaction, the motivation. If I go to office every day, you talk to me, and we have a cup of coffee together, I always, I have around 100 people. Today, all of a sudden, I'm sitting all alone. The motivation factor. There are so many things. My simple answer to this is, now, earlier I had a process which deliver output. Now the process has been completely changed, but still I want the same output. But I am not, I make it, I may not get. What are the things I'm not getting? As I told you yesterday, the problem is the gap between actual and what you get. What you want and what you get. Now, I want the same output, but I may not get that output. Where I'm not getting the output, what I am missing. The same point, the motivational. No, earlier I used to see my employee every day. I had time. Now I'm not even talking to them. Oh, that is what it is. Can I have again online meeting or not with all my employees, say 5 minutes a day, or I schedule in a week. So what is the alternative to achieve the same output in online? What I'm supposed to do? The only thing what we cannot do, a big thing is, now if it is offline, we are discussing, then we are going to talk to somebody, right? There we know we would have done a lot of mistakes. We can correct and go there. In online, it's all open. If you're done, you are done.
It's transparent. Yeah.
Transparency, you're done, you're done. It's in the way good, in a way bad.
There may be anxiety elements involved in some people may, be shy, not be able to come online. And, there are people who are introvert, which is fine and they are entitled to that. But then in that case, how to address this issue? Because you cannot let them socially interact. You'll get COVID. There are government regulations. The other people, you are over there. On the contrary, there are positive things. You can just interact with anybody. So this is a constitutional question, a temperamental question. Somebody may not like to come online. The others may like to. But this will hinder their progress or the employer-employee relationship. How to deal with that?
This is again, this is completely out of Six Sigma question. but that's a very valid question. I have an example for this. One of my colleague, his knowledge level is, I would say, 50 times more than mine. I learned many things from him. Though he was subordinate, I learn every day from him. But he's a shy guy. You don't want to come into in the front end. Right? What happens is, last for 4, 5, 6 months, he's completely in dark. Like that's exactly your question. How to bring them to the, I know this is my practice, we need to, some people are born for talk, difficult to stop them. And some people talk when required, some people don't even talk. So these are kind of their, practices or their nature. And we need to work on them in a different way.
Okay, any questions from the panel, please? Anybody wants to ask? Do make use of this opportunity? He's an expert with us, and we are really overshot our time. And I apologize to viewers. You cannot see me because I was sitting in the open, and the light. It's almost late evening. So, any of you have questions? Prashant, Priya, Mehra, Pooja.
I have a question.
Yeah, yes, Prashant, please.
Sir, I have a question, but I don't know that I am correct or not. But sir, can we use the analysis tool in some old ancient literature to compare the ancient literature between? Is there any tool to compare to ancient literature, comparative study like Yoga Darshan and Gita?
Compare with what?
Sir, suppose there are some old yogic literatures. If we want to compare between the aspects of yoga, that the correlation between these two literatures.
First of all, Mr. Prashant, when you started, you said, I'm sorry, I have a question, maybe right, wrong. First of all the inhibitions. What you're asking is right.
Yes. And my teacher told
that's all. I'm going to ask this question, and I'm right in asking this question. And actually, your question is very valid.
Actually, let me qualify that for him and for you also. You rightly said. My own mentor, Amit Ghosh, used to say, there is nothing like a stupid question. There is nothing like a stupid question at all. A question is a question. There you go. Please take this question.
There is in the world, there is no useless mind, only used less minds are there. That's all. So definitely, your question is valid. But what you're asking is, if I'm understanding your question right, I have certain, world yoga techniques, and you want to compare that effectiveness with what? That's what I'm unable to understand. Doctor, can you kind of, explain the question?
He's trying to say what is written in the ancient scriptures about the benefits of yoga.
Okay,
Maybe in
okay,
some of the
okay.
scripture, I can name a few. Patanjali
Sir,
Sutra.
I have one question.
Yeah, let me finish this, please. What Prashant is trying to ask is there correlation between, what is said in the scriptures, in the yogic scriptures, what they mention,
Okay.
the benefits of yoga. For example, it reduces your weight, or it may say that.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to understand the scriptures and the benefit. You can do a correlation, and you can say any positive correlation between them.
Yeah, other question was there. Somebody was trying to ask something. Priya
Yes,
Mehra,
sir.
please go ahead.
Sir, how can we calculate the sample size in animal study?
So you showed that beautiful sample size. So you had a slide, Setu Ramanji, on statistics, HO and H1A
Yes,
hypothesis.
yes.
Asking of, is there a way to calculate the sample size for
In animal.
studies? An
Yes.
animal.
Yes, sample size, that is a complete different study. There's something called, a random sample. That's completely different. You should understand the data type. Are we doing a homogeneous data or a heterogeneous data? So first you have to understand the data type, and how definitely there is a process methodology available to derive the sample sizes.
Maybe you can ask him directly later on. Pooja, you have any question? And then we can close. It's getting dark.
Is that answer the question? I mean,
yeah, Priya.
Sir, I was asking, in animal study, various papers have shown that they have taken only 6 number of animals in their experiment. They have only 6 number of animals or 4 number of animals, and how they finalize the number of animals in their experiments. It's only randomly based.
Oh, perfect. So here the random size is important, the category is important, and you are using a hypothesis, right? So obviously, if you have say 100 animals or 200 animals, 200 type of animals, you will not be able to do everything. So what they do is they categorize the animal set. First of all, they split them into a homogeneous group and pick a set of data from there and do an analysis and do hypothesis on that. Based on the results, they come to a conclusion. Okay, if these set of animals, for these kind of animals, these set of data, if I can do a hypothesis test using, depends upon if we are qualifying two groups, there is this one sample Z test, one sample T test, two sample T, multiple tests are there. Use the right test to in the hypothesis and use the data, which will tell you, which will give you the p-value, which will be able to infer is this right. It will tell you both. It is right, these 4 animals with this kind of a sample size. If you understand this is good enough, or it will tell you no, this is not good enough. Bring in more numbers, more times.
I think it will come, Priya,
Okay,
from your
sir.
literature search of other people having done similar experiments, because Setu Ramanji is more dealing with the human studies. But what he said basically was he didn't know that there are same kinds of animals you use. So there are only C57 animals, for example, in your case, which are of one kind.
Yes, sir.
So, and one is test, which is for, let us say, consuming ashwagandha or maybe Brahmi or any of the drug. And the other is not.
If that is
consuming.
all 357 one kind and your data is homogeneous straight away, then the one sample T test, whatever I shown you, the H0 and HCF just now.
Yeah, but she was asking how many animals to start before, not post analysis, not after the results. She was not talking of analysis, I think. She was asking, before we initiate the analysis, what is the minimum number of animals we should take to initiate that analysis?
Or the sample size.
Sample size calculation.
Absolutely. So sample size, I mean, it's a different processes. The total from the total number, there are certain formulas you need to apply that will tell you the sample size. Maybe
That
I
we
can,
find out. And also
I
for
can,
future.
if you can give me the data, I can come in online separately. I can deal with you. I'll help you to learn how to derive the samples. I can do it because that's little
Yeah,
more
you can ask that later.
Thank you so
time
much, sir,
consuming.
for this.
So the last question is from Venkatesan Ramalingam. When can I, this is the last question, we'll then close. When can I initiate a root cause analysis?
When can you initiate root cause analysis?
When can you initiate?
When you don't know the cause and you don't know the countermeasure. I have a problem. I don't know what is the cause. I don't know what is the countermeasure. Then get into root cause analysis. If you know one of them, I know the cause, then look for the countermeasure. I know the countermeasure, look for the cause. That is easy. That time root cause may not be required. But I have a problem for which I don't know the cause, I don't know the solution, do a root cause analysis.
Okay, we'll take just last, okay, one super last. Can I use more than one tool for a single data set?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, you can. You can use any number of tools, depends upon the data, any number of tools you can use as to identify the root causes, yes. Because different tools will give you different inferences. So based on that, in fact, same data you can use in two different tools and understand both giving the same result. So that also you can ensure. Yes, answer is yes, you can use.
Great. This was Sethuraman Krishnamurthy with us for an hour almost. We had a longer session than yesterday.
But I have done in 35 minutes, sir. Your questions are 25 minutes.
That was wonderful. Okay, you are right. The questions covered most of the time. But now we are geared up for the third day. We are halfway done our workshop. First day was on the defining of problem, definition. Now second day today was analysis. Tomorrow we'll be discussing, Mr. Sethuraman will be telling us the solutions. And please stay tuned, 6 o'clock tomorrow, sharp till 6:30. We'll try to wrap up early. I apologize again for being outside. I'm in the dark, but I think you still enjoyed Sethuraman Krishnamurthy ji speaking. So we had a great session. Thank you, Sethuraman ji. We'll now close and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.